Okay, so we've I'm just picking up where we left off. We have got all our data looking fine, so we've imported all the data. So let's just go ahead and run that to catch up to where we are. Cool, give it a second. I've also got this little shortcut in my text expander that just does that. So whenever I want to make a dash, it does that. Okay, this is where we're at. So we've got 37 individual sheets of data. Okay, so the question is, how are we going to process these? So when I look at those, when you control and click, it opens the object. Sometimes that can be slow if the nested tables have lots of data inside them, but in our case we're okay. Alright, so I'm looking at it and it looks like these guys here are the weeks. These guys here are the weeks, and these guys here are all the various categories. And I'm just trying to see what the pattern is. Okay, so if we click on one of these, we can actually look inside. So this is one from, it's American dating, it looks like. So this is one from March, and this is one from January. So if we look at inside here, it opens up what it looks like inside, okay? And I just want to see if these are formatted in the same way. No. Okay. So they'll need to be processed separately. Just going back to this one, is this one processed in the same way? I think I selected the wrong one. Let's just take them one by one. This one. This one. Yeah, so I'm just looking at it now, they look to be pretty similar. The thing is, we're looking for structure, okay? We're trying to see how the individual sheets are structured, and we can process similarly structured sheets in the same way with the same function, okay? So what do I do next? I'm thinking these are all structured the same, so we need to find some way to process only these. So if we grab it, to me, the way to get these is to grab this one here. So let's we need to some sort of filter, okay? We could probably just be really simple and just grab the whole file path like that, or we could just be even simpler and just do this. So filter str is a string function, string detect. We want to look inside file path, the column. We want to look for this. So when we do that, yeah, it works. Okay, so this, we can call this the Jan sheets. Okay, so we're going to find some way to process these. And we'll find a way to process the rest of them later on. Alright? So this is just the way it has to work. So if we grab Jan sheets, one thing I like to do is we can do this. We can slice, so we can pick one row, and then we can pluck out the data. So import of data, and that sort of gives us what we want, which is the sheet only, but we've got to add this extra comma 1 after it, just so we get the actual table item instead of being a list with one item in it with a table inside it. Yeah, it's just a subtle difference. I wonder if there's another way of doing this here. If we go, that is what we've got. If we go that import of data, that's a vector of the 3 objects inside. Yeah, the 5 sheets. I think if we go like this, 1, yeah, that also achieves the same thing as what I've just done here. Okay, so this gets the vector, this gets the first object out of the vector. Okay, the main reason I'm doing this is because we want to try and convert this data here, which is messy, into tidy data. Okay, so they are identical. So let's go one sheet. Then we can call these things whatever we want to, and we can come back to it later on. That's Control Shift C, by the way. Okay, so we've got one sheet, and we've got to think how we're going to process this. I am just thinking, and I'm thinking that looking at it, there's quite a bit of complexity in how we're going to do this. Okay, we've got this rankings happening. Rankings. So it's like the categories are stacked. Okay, so let's just the first thing I do here is I'm going to unpivot it. So I'm going to go sometimes you just got to try different things. Okay, so this is the gather function. That's simply putting every cell, yeah. But I'm thinking I'm going to pivot everything except for the rank. So every column is going to be pivoted except for the rank column. Okay. So when I look at this here, we've got a whole bunch of cell values and what their header was. Okay. So let's just take a quick look inside this one here, inside the key function. And when I look at that, I'm seeing the component of the data there, and then I'm also seeing the category there, and they're separated by a dash. So we can do this. We can. This is tricky. So there's many ways of separating a string. Okay, I'm gonna just use this one here for now. So what column do we want to separate? Key. What do we want to separate it into? Category. And data part, if you will. Okay, we've got to wrap that into a vector. So they're going to be our new columns. And then what's the separator going to be? So let's just say the dash is going to be the separator. Close it off, and then bam. All right. So it's done its separation. We've got little gaps, but that's okay. We can clean up those gaps with a simple mutate. If we want to, normally if we want to do a function, so let's go category. str string functions, we got these. Str gives you the strings function, and then you press tab to look up the function. So if we do str trim on category like that, it's taken away the white spaces on either side. Okay, so we want to do it across. We want to do data part as well. So let's do this in a fancier way. Let's go across category. We need to group category and data part. So across those two, what do we want to do? We want to apply strim, but we do .x to stand in for the column that's gonna happen, and then there, we've done it to both of those at the same time, which is very helpful. Okay, we don't need this distinct operation anymore. So there we go. Now we've got the category there, the data part there, and the value here. So we've got to decide how we're going to handle this. I think we've got to do the opposite of pivot, which is spread. So gather and spread were remade to be pivot longer and pivot wider, okay? And I actually never never really spent the time to turn those new functions into muscle memory, so I'm stuck with the old ones, okay? But essentially what I want to do here is I want to spread the data part, and I want to spread the value with it. So data part is going to become the headers, and the value is going to go in the cells. So let's take a quick look at this. Cool. Okay. So what have we got here? We've got 105 rows, which is good. It's not like a million or anything. It hasn't done anything too silly. Okay. Let's whoops. Okay, that's what I want to do anyway. That is every single book, I think. We've got some of these NA rows here. Maybe they're blank ones. So if the ISBN is blank, then we really don't want anything to do with them. Yeah. I'm seeing this ranking column here, which is sometimes NA. That is interesting. So somehow we've lost the ranking values. I wonder how that happened. Key value, we kept rank there. Well, let's just do a few steps first. Let's do a filter and get rid of any columns where the ISBN is not blank. That takes away 5 rows of nothingness, okay? Why did the rank break? That's my question, okay? If I look at this column, I've got the ranks right there. Okay, and when I did that, rank stayed, good. When I separated, the rank is still there. Okay, I'll tell you what I think has happened. In this step here, if I look inside the data part column, we've got ranking in there as well, okay? And that's because with the data, we've got a rank here and then a rank here, okay? But they're all, they're slightly different. Hardcover fiction. Oh no, previous rank. Okay, previous rank. Mass market rank. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So this number is providing the same information as we've got here. That's why. So we no longer need it. So we can take that part of the data out before we pivot it. So when we do that, So now we don't have the rank in there, and then we don't need the distinct anymore. Okay, and now this should have rank. Cool, excellent. So that worked. Okay. I'm just going to pause it for 1 second and we'll get to making a function. Okay, I'm back. Just took a quick second to take a breather. Alright, so this is sort of the function we want to apply. And maybe even we might do another little function which is which just simply tidies the headers up a tiny bit. Okay, but on the whole that is looking fine to me. Okay, what do we want to do? Okay, I want to do what we did here to this one sheet. I want to do it to the whole, all the January sheets, all 5 of them. And I want to see if, well, first of all I want to see if it works. Okay, so how do we turn what we just did into a function? So we no longer need these distincts anymore. We know it works. And let's just add that final step onto the end. Cool. And let me just make sure I don't. So how would this work if it was a function? Let's do it. Let's call this thing some function. And we got to call it some function name. Okay. And this function, what it requires is it requires the sheet of data. So okay, and then what do we do with the data? So the data in this case is one sheet, the demo data we used. Yeah, so what I normally do with all my functions is the argument, I make an object like this and then I comment it. Okay, so now we've got data in here and we want to do those exact same operations to data rather than to one sheet. Okay, because in the function that's the name of the object, data. So if we test it, it's going to work exactly the same as it did previously. So that's that. And now if we did this, if we applied this function to one sheet, we're also going to get the same thing after we save the function. So let's save the function. So now it exists here, and then let's run it over. You see, we get the same result. So if we want to apply that function we just made all across the January sheets, we can do it like so. Mutate. Let's just call it tidy data. Let's call it tidy data. Map. We use the map function and we map across import of data. And the operation we want to do is some function. So we can put .x inside, or we can put it out and pipe it in. We just need to remember to include the tilde, but that gives us the result. Okay, and it's the tidied result. We can even test it by taking a quick look. Just check if they all processed. That looks pretty neat to me. That looks pretty neat. Yep, so they've been processed correctly. So there's one more little step we got to do. The date of these records are stored in the sheet name. So we've got to fix this. So we got to call it week of records. It doesn't matter what we call it, and we need to turn this here into a date field. So lubridate package has a really easy function, and we're just going to call it, it's just the name, the abbreviation, so month, day, and then year of sheet name. So that's just going to change from character to be an actual date. Cool. So there we are there. It's an actual date. Yeah, week of records. So we only need this and this. Okay. And just while I'm at it, we don't actually need to have separate mutates. We can just do it like this and it will also work. So we only need 2 parts. Okay, and now the data is all inside there. But we just want to make it a regular table, so we got to unnest the data. So unnest tidy data. I'm just going to also pop the order around. Okay, cool. So now every single one of those records, 500, is in the one table. So that is tidy Jan sheets. So that is how we process January's data. All right, I'll leave it there.